So sometimes people like StarMax Media
Yeah.
come to you to write a play.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Well, StarMax Media, they're a small-time startup company that I've been working with. And they come to me and they say, we'd like a play like High School the Musical. Or we want something like Hannah Montana, you know? So or we want something like CSI Miami. And basically what happens is, if I'm not familiar with these things, you know, I'll go watch them, familiarize myself, and then I will write them something in that genre. But, you know, it's interesting because I'm one of the few cross-genre writers out there. You know, there aren't a lot of them actually, you know, for whatever reason. But I think a lot of it has to do with the studios. They like to have, like, okay, if you're a comedy writer, we want you just to write comedies. If you're a drama writer, we want you to just write dramas. If you're a science fiction writer, just write science fiction for us. You know, it's kind of the corporate mentality. Okay, for divorce law, we go to a divorce lawyer. You know, for civil law, we go to a civil lawyer. For criminal law, we go to a criminal lawyer. You know, it's like there's something about, I think it's the corporate world that kind of creates that stereotype. But I'm like, no. You're really good writers can write in different genres, and they frequently will. You know, I mean, look at Bill Shakespeare. You know, I mean, look at, you know, he wrote comedies, he wrote dramas, you know, he wrote tragedies, you know, he wrote, in any and all genres.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
What about your work habits? Do you write every single day?
No, I actually don't. You know, it's interesting because I've actually sometimes gone years without writing anything. But you have to understand, you know, I live in the adult world. I have adult responsibilities, you know, trying to make a living, keep my head above the water, you know. And, you know, and sometimes I don't feel inspired to write anything, you know. And, I mean, so, you know, sometimes I might go years without writing anything at all. And then I might write, you know, one of my best pieces, you know, sit down, you know, get inspiration. I mean, you know, a lot of people say you need to write every day. And, you know, if that works for you, fine. But, you know, I'm not like that. You know, I don't want to write every day. I want to write when I feel inspired to write. You see what I'm saying? You know, for me, I mean, it's a good habit to practice writing, but it's like I do it quite often. You know, it's like I don't feel I need to do that as a way of, you know, developing my skill as a writer.
Well, what kind of things do you, as a writer, do you read? Do you read a lot of books? Do you read the dictionary? Oh, yeah. One of the things I like to do,
Edgar Allan Poe used to read different dictionaries, technical type of dictionaries, and I will do the same thing. You know, I will read a dictionary on insurance law, you know, or insurance terms, or I'll read a dictionary on computer terms. You know, and, you know, because words are your business, you know, you want to have as wide variety as you can. And I liked, you know, like Esther House also, I like to read books. You know, it's like I would rather, you know, I'd actually almost rather read a book than watch a movie. And part of the problem with me is that, you know, I've been in the business so long and I'm so inundated with films, I know them so well. It's like I watch a film, okay, this is a ripoff of The African Queen, or this is a ripoff of Seven Samurai. And I'll watch the first 5-10 minutes, I can tell you everything's going to happen in the film usually. With the exception of a few filmmakers, such as David Lynch, you know, which is one of the reasons I like Lynch's work so much. You know, I mean, a lot of people say that he's not that good of a filmmaker. He's not that smart, you know. Some people have even gone as far as to call him an idiot. But the thing is Lynch, you know, he has, you know, the guy walks that line between genius and insanity. He is insane. You know, and he's brilliant or whatever you want to call it, but he has an ability to draw outside the lines. And it's like when I watch his stuff, it's like, you know, okay, with Blue Velvet, I kind of knew where this was going, but I didn't know quite how we were going to get there. You know, I wasn't, you know what I'm saying, as I was watching it, I wasn't like, okay, I'm expecting this scene, I'm expecting that scene. No. It's like, bam, where'd that come from? Bam! Boom! Oh, wow! That was interesting. But the thing is for writing, it's, how should I say, it's always a challenge.
Are there any other directors that do that for you?
Martin Scorsese, Kurosawa, Uzu, absolutely, Uzu. You know, Uzu said, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, to be predictable is to be boring. You know, that's one of the reasons why, and I'm going to plug Alien, you know, here. One of the reasons why I loved the movie Alien so much was the simple fact that you felt like the writer took the dice, took several different options, rolled the dice. It's like every 10 or 20 pages, and said, "Okay, we're going this way." It wasn't. As you're watching it, it's just like. And people who saw it, James Cameron, when he saw the film, he was so blown away by it, he had to meet the people who made it. He went out of his way to do that. He's like, "Good job!" And he was a truck driver at the time. He wasn't a filmmaker yet. But he was just so blown away. He had to meet these people, and he was like, "Good job! I loved the film." Cameron even said he was, or at least he was alleged to said. This is what I heard, that he knew he was going to spend the rest of his life trying to make a movie as good as this, and knowing he'd never be able to do it. But if you look at his films like Avatar, Titanic, you can see the huge alien influence on there. Let's spend a ton of money. Let's make it visually stunning. Let's make it larger than life. And let's make it just as mesmerizing and interesting as hell.
So do you have any advice for other people who want to become writers?
Yeah, one of my advice is, my first advice is to work on your weaknesses and not your strengths, and find out what those weaknesses are, and work with other people who are experienced writers and be willing to change and adapt, because I've worked with other writers, and they just want me to say, "Oh, I love your stuff, it's brilliant." No. I'm not doing my job if I'm doing that. I may be stroking your ego, but I'm not doing my job. Teaching you. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with the script. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with you as a writer. And I'm going to tell you what you need to work on. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. And it's like, well, guess what? You're not going to get better that way. You really need to work on your weaknesses. And the other advice, the other main advice I'd give people is, get out in life and experience some things. Experience some of life. Join the army. Become a merchant marine. Work at the Peace Corps. Work in an embassy. Join the French Foreign Legion. Do something. Get out there in the world and experience something about life. And also, try to get as wide a variety of experiences as you can as a person. And my advice to them also is draw from those life experiences. One of the reasons why movies like Alien worked so well was the fact that they didn't draw from other movies. They drew from real life. Dan O'Bannon, the writer, he drew from his own life experiences about how people talk and interact. And he just weaved that into the screenplay. This is one of the interesting things, because he didn't truly understand the science fiction genre and the horror genre. Because he didn't understand it, he ended up, transcending it and creating something much better, rather than just following the same old guidelines that had been done before, 1,000 times and just been beaten to death. My advice is read lots of books, study the classics and also study the cult classics, because that's where your real That's where your real crusaders, that's where your real adventurers, that's where your really good work is. That's where you'll really learn from. I mean, you're going to learn more from, I think, watching Rocky Horror Picture Show than you're going to learn from watching The Wizard of Oz. Not that I don't think The Wizard of Oz is one of the best films of all time. It is. But it's the cult films that you see, where you see people taking the risks and experimenting. And that's what you need to do, too. You need to be able to take risks. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Wizard of Oz took a lot of risks and they made it work. It's so funny because, then it becomes the standard, Everyone does again and again and again. But at the time, it wasn't the standard,
Right, that's interesting.
It was, it's like someone had to first say, let's cut them off at the pass before it became a cliche. Someone had to first say, this town isn't big enough for the two of us, before it became a cliche.
Right.